Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. I'm sending you all love and high vibrations. I have an exciting Gematria decode to share with you today. This current week we're in appears to be a transition week energetically for not only the markets, but the entire world stage. As most of you who watch my channel already are aware, as we get closer to the end of Shemitah, the 7-year cycle we're currently in, the energy continues to build up and the Psyops pile up even higher. The numbers I'll share with you today will definitely be enlightening and pointing out the simulated nature of our reality through the code of Gematria. I'll also go over the charts to do some technical analysis on Bitcoin and my overall sentiment on the cryptocurrency market. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, numerology, and astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out, and make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And anyone who becomes a Patreon supporter of mine will also unlock the biggest discounts on my course. So with that being said, let's take the red pill. So I actually went over a couple of these dates in my last video that I put out, but I just want to recap for anyone who's new here and also for those who might have forgotten. So a couple of dates that stand out to me are this upcoming Sunday, which will be May 29th. One of the reasons why is because the standard date numerology, as you see right here, is giving us the 22. And of course, we're aware we're in the year of 2022, and it's the Hebrew year of 5782. And that, of course, reduces down to the 22. That's the master builder. So it's very important that we consider whenever we're seeing these 22s, we know that they are a huge energetic shift, typically in the world stage. So that's definitely something interesting because this is the transition date into May 30th, which will be the upcoming new moon. The new moon that pretty much ends the month of May. So this might be interesting because May 30th, when we do date numerology the way that I like to do it, which is with double digits, as you can see here, 5 plus 30 plus 20 plus 22 adds up to 77. And when you take those sevens, it's really important because we're in the year of Shemitah, which is the 7-year sabbatical cycle. So every 7th year, there is a release. And that's why every 7 years, we have a big change in not only financial markets, but all the other things that have happened in the world throughout our known history. So with this 77 connection actually to this upcoming Rosh Hashanah. So you can see right here on the right, I have Monday, September 26th of 2022, and that is the last day of Shemitah. This is the end or the release. That's what that word means. And this is typically when we expect to have the most financial chaos. If we go back every 7 years, we can prove this in the charts. And for those of you that are brand new here, 7 years ago in 2015, at the end of Shemitah, there was lots of turmoil in the Chinese stock market, in the Asian markets as a whole. Then 7 years before that, we had the 2007-2008 housing market crisis, which was a huge global issue with liquidity across all banks, not only in the United States, across Europe as well. And then we have 7 years before that, 9/11 and the dot-com bubble, which happened in the Shemitah of 2000 and 2001. So why is that so important? Well, because if we keep going back in those 7-year cycles, we can see all these major events are happening around the end of Shemitah, okay? And this is the end. And remember what I just told you about 9/11. Well, with that being said, if you take the amount of days between May 30th, the upcoming new moon, and the end of Shemitah, that is 119 days, or the mirror of 9/11. Now, remember, this is very, very significant, okay? Because the two biggest things to happen on our world stage in modern history was the September 11th and C-word, okay? And these all happened very specifically on specific time frames for a reason. If you take from the day of 9/11, 2001, over to the day that the WHO declared the pandemic, around March 11th of 2020, you get exactly 222 months. That 222 showing up again. And as you can see, we're in the 222 year. So it's not coincidental that this world has been behaving the way that it has been with all of the things going on. And as I said earlier in the intro, when we're in the year of Shemitah, this is when the Psyops pile up to a level that will induce so much fear and so much confusion into the average person. And my channel is to help you guys get back that power of your attention so you have this awareness and consciousness of what's happening before it even happens. And in that, you could be much more relaxed and calm, as I have become through this knowledge and awareness. It's all about neutrality. It's not about being negative because you know the truth. It's about being in your neutral state, and share this truth with the ones who are enlightened enough to receive this truth. And this is how we could help our world. So this connection here with the 119 mirror of the 9/11, and just a side note, this upcoming September 11th will be the 21st anniversary of 9/11. And the reason that matters so much is because Shemitah is the sabbatical year, which is the year of Saturn. Okay, it's the Saturn year. And as you can see, that 21 in multiple ciphers, but important in the Chaldean when you type in Saturn. Okay, it's going to be the 21st anniversary of 9/11. Now, this is really going to be mind-blowing because I have another 21 connection that's coming up very soon. And I actually shared this on my Patreon over the weekend. So anyone who's interested in exclusive content, behind-the-scenes stuff, I do my weekly Red Pill podcast that I release every Sunday. Get out my market sentiment for the week. I cover all of the top coins that I typically cover in my videos. I give a sneak preview of any Gematria Numerology information that I'm going to share in the upcoming week on YouTube. But more importantly, I go over a bunch of different altcoins that I normally don't have the time to cover in my YouTube videos, and I let the community vote on which coins I check out every week. Of course, it allows me to give my full market sentiment and a little bit extra time to share some words of wisdom regarding how this market really runs. So this date I actually shared over this past weekend, and as I was decoding it, I was really blown away by the significance of it, and I've even found a little bit more information to add in today's video. This date is so significant, okay? This Saturday, May 28th, that's upcoming in about 3 days from today, right? Now, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why, but I want to really preface that this might be a day where something happens on the world stage, and because the stock market will be closed, this could affect crypto. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It could be a negative or positive event because it's around the new moon and there is no eclipse to worry about. I suppose this could be a date for some energy, to show up in the market that will sort of give us to identify a direction of where the next big move is for the market. But more importantly, the world stage is what I'm considering with this one. So the reason being, we have the standard date numerology being the 5 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, giving us that 21. Now that 21 is massive because we are currently in the 21st week of the year. And as you can see, this date, upcoming Saturday, May 28th, will be within the 21st week of this year. Of course, this is using the Gregorian calendar, which is only one aspect of my work. As you can see, I pay a lot of attention to the Hebrew calendar because we're considering Rosh Hashanah, which moves every year because of the moon cycle. So we have the 21 date numerology in the 21st week of this year. And why that matters so much is because this date lands exactly on a Saturday, the day of Saturn, the day of Saturn being 21. So we have 3 21s all in confluence with this, and I have one more 21. If you connect from this date to this date, we have exactly 121 days, which is the palindrome of the 1-2 and the 2-1. This is amazing. One of the best connections I've found all year, and it seems like a totally random date. And be considerate of the transition of this matter. We could see it hit us on the 27th because over there in Australia, it'll be the 28th. We could see it happening in the US, on the 28th. It's not really about being so specific. It's about giving it a window of time. And remember, energetically, they use the new moon and the full moon for their rituals. That's just what they do. And this is 2 days before the new moon. So I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. One other thing to mention is the day before this day, which will be the transition date into the 28th. Let's just say when it's May 27th in the United States, it will be the 28th over there in Australia. With that being said, if you connect these two dates, it'll be 3 months and 30 days. And this is where the decode gets a little bit deeper and a little bit more, profound. So 3 months and 30 days is the 33. When you remove that 0, you have that 33. And that's a big number in the occult. But of course, this is all happening. The upcoming Rosh Hashanah is the date that we're connecting this to, the 33. This is all happening during the year of the Shemitah. But in Chinese, this is the year of the water tiger. Okay? And we have that 33. So again, 33. And we're in the year of the water tiger, 33 in the Chaldean. And of course, they're creating this new Psyop on the world stage. And I can't say this word because it will affect the channel, but let's just talk about this for a moment. This new Psyop on the world stage giving us the 33 and the reverse full reduction. And that's only one part of it, okay? Don't you love how the next year of the monkey in Chinese zodiac is going to be in 2028 to 2029, exactly in the year of the next Shemitah? I mean, perfectly executed by the grand chess players, apex predators of our realm. This is amazing how they predictively program, and if you're unaware of the esoteric, you're never going to be able to see what's happening here on this world stage ahead of time. But they're throwing out this psyop on purpose because they want people to get used to learning more and more and more about the Agenda 2030 psyop, which this is all in transition for. And I say psyop very cautiously because I believe it will be a world where some go down that route and the chosen ones will not. The ones who do not desire this transhumanist agenda will not fall for this, but that's a side story. I know what I'll be doing. What you want to do is completely up to you. But here, the wolf pack has no desire for perpetuating the slavery of mankind. We're here to enlighten those who are ready to accept this information. This monkey connection here is all about predictive programming for the next Shemitah, which will be happening in 2028 into 2029. Remember that. Now, I also want to make another connection here, how this Psyop hit the world stage heavily over last weekend. Of course, it's been making its rounds, here and there, but what really set it off was over this past weekend, they started talking about cases in New York, etc. Okay, this weekend ended on the 22nd of May. Again, that 22 connection. And if you look at this date, it will be the 4 months and 4 days till the end of Rosh Hashanah. And of course, this word equals 44. We made a huge connection with Elon Musk and buying Twitter for $44 billion and how that all tied back into ruthenium, which was the 44th element and had an atomic mass of 101. And it was the Latin name for Russia, whilst Russia and Ukraine are all the talk on the world stage ever since the start of the year of the tiger, the year of the water tiger. And you could see that 101 is very powerful because that's the twin towers, the one and the one, Yakin and Boaz. Okay? And this 117 is even more important, guys, because I taught you about this moments ago with the World Trade Center and all of these rituals tied in. This ruthenium find was very powerful, and I believe it was a very enlightening piece of my work. The 117 is the Tower 1, the Tower 2, and the Tower 7. The 1 and the 1 are the fall of Yakin and Boaz. The energy pushes into Tower 7. You have the 711. And then all of this energy gets siphoned into the pentagram, or the pentagon as they call it. That's a ritual. And it's energy harvesting. And what they use in the media is to harvest your energy. So this is being used to harvest your energy. Don't let it happen. Don't let anything fearful affect you in this world. You're here as an infinite being of light consciousness. You can live a life of love, or you can choose a life of fear. You get to pick. I know what I will. This stuff is a distraction, okay? And it is all coded by the numbers. So one last thing to mention is this big 138, and I'm excited to share this with an upcoming podcast that I'm planning to do with Jason over at Archaics, and his work is incredible. He discusses this 138-year cycle, and I haven't heard much information directly from him just yet. I'm kind of holding myself back because I'm waiting for our conversation so I can learn all the depth of where his mind is at. But I heard Logan over at Decode Your Reality talking about his conversation with Jason, and they brought up that 138 cycle again, and I'm like, wow, the thing on the world stage that everyone wants to start talking about gives us the 138, an English ordinal, which of course is one number after the 137, and 137 is the 33rd prime number. So this is so massive. But anyway, shout out to Logan. Decode Your Reality is his YouTube channel, and Jason over at Archaics, both incredible minds who are doing their part to share and enlighten the world of this code. And it's beautiful to see all of our communities coming together. So much love to everyone in my community and much love to everyone in theirs. Let's build no division in this world right now. All of us decoders need to come together to share our truth. So I hope this has enlightened people to how, just scripted this all is. The 4-4 connection right here from May 22nd, the 22nd day of May, leading us into the day of Shemitah being over. And of course, you see that 69, that has been a noticeable number in my work over probably since the last 6 months. And I could talk about this stuff more and more and more. Right here, this day was days left in the year 223, which is the reverse of the 322, the skull and bones number. So I'm going to leave it at that. But again, just to mention this 69 one more time and that 96 connection right here, I just released a decode on my Patreon yesterday, I believe, and it was called the 247-day cycle. So if you guys are interested in more, experimental analysis on the markets, you should definitely check out that Patreon post because I put a ton of, time and effort into periodic table and tying it into the dates, and just found so many really amazing things that I was able to utilize for my analysis. So let's move on to the Bitcoin chart. As you can see, the market has been incredibly boring and sideways over the past 14 to 15 days. This is actually very similar to last year. If you look at this time frame of May, it was very choppy and very sideways after a bigger correction. And one of the things that I located in a recent video was how this full move from 69K, again, that 69 number, down to these wick lows on a majority of the charts that we have for Bitcoin, meaning across all exchanges. This is the index chart, so it gives me an aggregate of all the data across as many exchanges that feed into this trading view software. And then if you go from here over to the C-word crash, you're ending up with the same amount of data, about 63% loss from here, this peak, to the very wick low. From here, peak, to the very wick low, 63%, an identical copy. Okay, so I'm not here to say that the crash or the correction or any of that is over. I'm just concentrated most of my bearish sentiment towards the end of Shemitah. After September 26th is where I expect it to really get wild. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm just kind of chilling and waiting for some structure, because as a technical analyst right now, we're trading in a very precarious spot for Bitcoin, where we can see that the support line is actually somewhere around 30,800, and that's been multiple rejection levels for like the past 2 weeks. Pretty much right at that level that used to be a considerable support on daily closes has now flipped into a resistance. That's not good. Okay, so from a perspective of TA, this isn't the greatest thing to be seeing day after day after day. But what I can say is there's a couple of esoteric things to point out for you guys. One of which being the DXY, recently topping out at 105. Remember that 105, because that's the 15 or the 1.5. And then we have the Dow, which actually topped out on January 5th. Again, that's the 1.5, right? Why that's so important is because that ties back into the year of the tiger, okay? Tiger equals 15. Remember what I taught you guys? I was using the tiger and the ram and all of this data esoterically to be able to determine how that last Super Bowl would go between the Bengals and the Rams. And this number 15 was tying back to the number 47, because 47 is the 15th prime number, and then 43. because that's the 14th prime number. And they were playing those two numbers on the world stage for a while, enough for me to see a pattern. And that's all this is about, is being able to determine a pattern before it happens. Now let's look at the Dow just very quickly. You notice how it is breaking out. I mean, not breaking out into a new structure, but what I can say is this bounce was noticeable, followed by this buyback. So this is a good sign. And the one thing that I could say that might provide a little bit of technical value for those of you that are into the charts, I took a pattern of the fib from this swing low to the swing high, so a bearish fib retrace, and you could see we did backtest that 1618, the golden ratio, so that's a good thing. And the reason why I did the fibs accordingly is because that's when we entered a horizontal trading range. So those of you that are aware, this had a big washout black swan event which followed into a new high in the structure. This washed us out from all of that mess and sent us on a new rally. Then once we hit around here in May 10th of 2021, ironically in May, we entered a sideways horizontal trading range, and the lowest wick on the range is where I pulled this fib to the highest wick in the range. So this is a very clean fib pull and very technically sound. I didn't just make this up is what I'm trying to say. There was a lot of rhyme and reason to it as a technical analyst. So you can see with this bearish retrace, it's typical that when you have a dead cat bounce scenario, which would be a drop into support, rally, rejection, lower high, followed by a break of the lows that you previously experienced. That's the dead cat bounce. And the first level you like to go to is the 1618. This is textbook. This is very clean. The next thing I would look out for is this long-term resistance trend line, which is going back to the peak of 2018. Then we have right here the peak of 2020, and then you can see we just broke through it. So it'd be natural to gravitate back to this trend line and see how we act. If we get rejected again, well, guess what? We're going to head right back down to the 1618. If we could get above it and gravitate to that 888 and start closing dailies above that, this would be a solid completion of the dead cat bounce, and then we could actually re-enter this horizontal trading range for a couple months. So that's the technical play on the indice, if you guys wanted to know. So getting back to Bitcoin, this is all correlated to what I just explained in the Dow. If the Dow is performing poorly, Bitcoin will perform poorly. If Bitcoin performs poorly, every altcoin will as well. This is not my opinion. I remember I used to say this about a year and a half ago, and it really offended people. And I hope by now you see that it wasn't for me to offend you as an altcoin holder. It was me to help you. It's to not be emotional, okay? Don't pick cults. Pick truth. When you just get emotional about somebody saying the truth about a specific coin, well, then you've joined the cult of that coin, and that's not how investments work. An investment is when you've sat down and made a plan or a blueprint of how you're actually going to go about this in the long term, okay? So I'm not here to, harm anyone's feelings. It's about giving out that red pill, and it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but it's necessary if you want to become an investor. An investor is the counter of what everyone thinks it is. Actually, people think that people who invest are here to make money. No, they're not. People who invest are here to protect their money from their purchasing power being lost over time due to the fiat system being a fraud. That's actually what investing is about. It's to save yourself. Okay? It's not about becoming rich. There's a big difference between becoming rich and becoming wealthy. Go ask both of those people how they got there, and they'll let you know. And in the great words of, Warren Buffett, it's those who sell who become rich, and it's those who never sell who become wealthy. And it's this accumulation mindset. Of course, you need to sell to pay bills and to do whatever you need to do in your life. That's obvious. But if you strategized effectively and had the patience and the emotional control and the wisdom, you'd be able to withstand any big shakeouts in the market. And that's what this channel's about, getting people to be more neutral in their analysis and perspective of what's happening here. Don't worship the blockchain is the point. Now, this technically, it's really hard to share any information because right now we're just stuck in a range, and that range, that range is very tight. Excuse me, I need to get some water soon, but that range is very tight. And with that range being stuck within about a $1,000 swing between highs and lows, it's telling me that this is about to make a directional change very soon. It would be more likely for the change to be to the upside just due to the nature of this, what I would like to call a bullish divergence. So we do see a downtrend in price where we have low, 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 and then we can see at the same time catching multiple higher lows on the RSI. So in English, this is making an RSI uptrend on the lows while it's making a downtrend in price. So that divergence right there is something to consider. That's not me saying that we can't drop lower. It's just something to point out. Also, we are seeing bullish MACD, but we're in the negative posture. So that's not actually that bullish. It would be better if it crossed that neutral zone and headed to the positive. Right now, we're deep in that negative territory, very, very similar to back here. Okay, so that's some of the thesis regarding Bitcoin. Now for price fluctuation, the next big level to the upside would clearly be this 236, and then on the lower side, it would be any daily closes below 28,400, followed by a swipe probably to fill this wick at 25K. So a wick fill, essentially something very, very similar to what happened back here, where we had this big wick, and then we just slowly filled it at the end of this micro cycle, which led to a change in the complete opposite direction of what most people thought. So just take that into consideration regarding sentiment analysis. Right now, the sentiment is an extreme fear, which sophisticated investors use that as an opportunity to reanalyze what their fiat is doing on the sidelines. And that's not me telling people to buy right now. It's just telling you how to analyze sentiment. When everyone is scared, it's probably a good time to consider what you want to do with your money, right? As opposed to when the market's really greedy, you want to consider what you're doing with your investments. Right? It's the opposite. Instead of what you would do with your fiat, what would you do with your investments? When it gets greedy and sentiment, that's typically a good time to de-risk your investments. When it's very fearful on the downside, that's typically a good time to de-risk your fiat position. So those of you that have a more, sophisticated investment thesis, you'll know the language I'm speaking. Now, actually, ETH is looking a little bit more solid because it hasn't broken downside structure. So this is something that's interesting forming in the overall top two coins by market cap between Bitcoin and ETH. Now, it's not looking great. But what I can say is we do have as well this bullish divergence sort of forming in the macro structure. So that's something to be considerate of as well. I'll tell you what I really would like to see, though. I would love to see a flip of this 8 simple moving average with this 55 simple moving average, and we're a far way away from that. So what I would anticipate is if there is any relief rally in this market, it's going to smash into the 200 simple moving average. So I'll say that one more time, and then I'll quickly move on. This 8 simple moving average, I would like to cross above the 55 simple moving average. That's what I call the wolf cross. And then I would suspect if that wasn't to happen, we would have any relief rally would smash into this 200 simple moving average on the daily chart. It could totally wick higher than that, but that's sort of the play here in the bullish relief rally sense of things. On the downside, there's not really too much to be considerate of because we already saw ETH play around with that 200 exponential moving average, and that would be the next key level for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. If they were to drop and take another leg down, you'd be looking to the 200 simple moving average on the weekly chart and then probably bounce very quickly off of there because every time that we retest those levels on Bitcoin, at least it rallies, and that's been cyclical now for pretty much over a decade, or at least as long as Bitcoin has took to aggregate data for the 200 moving average on a weekly chart. So I hope that's not too complicated, but for those of you that are unaware of what I'm talking about, my Mastermind course teaches all of that. So this was oversold on RSI and it's trending sideways, and this does look like a pattern that's ready for some resolution. And that resolution is going to come from the overall stock market and the DXY continuing to slide to the downside. I suspect if the DXY was to drop below 100, that would definitely indicate a sign of a rally for not only crypto, but all stocks and precious metals. Just a quick words on XRP because it's the same story as last week and there's really not too much to talk about. Basically, just consider what I said before about the trap for Bitcoin kind of between that 36K area. That would be similar to like a 55-cent XRP. So if there was a relief in XRP, we would need to watch out for this 888 right here, 888 fib. That fib level has now flipped into, it's no longer a support. We saw it as a double bottom on this support here before this rally, and then we saw it as a retest here before rally of like a micro triple top, and then we broke through it. And when we broke through it, we slid down very quickly, very similarly to this structure over here where we had the Flare network nonsense, and then we had the SEC nonsense. And this drop down right here led to this moment. a capitulation, which actually had a pretty nice spring. The spring followed by a lower, let me show you really quickly. I know these moving averages are kind of messing everything up, but we had this spring action effect where after you get extremely oversold, you just shoot up really quickly. And then that higher low was beautiful to see because look at where it re-entered right there at the structure of the horizontal trading range before there. So that's a key indicator of that rally was due to happen. And that's a beautiful thing because sometimes you need those really instantaneous flush outs to reset the market. I know it seems scary, but those market resets are the most brilliant moments for those investors that are long-term. And I remember in my Mastermind course, actually, I made a video on the day that XRP dropped down to 17 cents. And I bought that was my last big entry on XRP on that exact date. Anyone who owns my Mastermind course would know. And that's going back a while now. I started that course probably like September, October of 2020. And now we're in May of 2022. So it's been quite a while. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Tons of information. Definitely rewatch this and take some notes if needed. Try to drop a little bit of market wisdom in there for you guys. I appreciate all of you. I'm really excited for a podcast that will be released probably by tonight with Martin Liedtke over at Flat Earth British. He's an incredible guy, just such a positive soul. Really love him. And I'm excited to collaborate with him because he doesn't talk about crypto. So it'll be great to have, the vibe of my Friday live streams intermingled with somebody who is super influential in my work, going back to talking about the mud floods in Tartaria and just a great reset of the past. So I'm really excited for that to be shared with everyone. I appreciate every single one of you. Much love.